Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool. And by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. You know, spring is here. No, really, spring is here. But it's going to be up there as we put our suspension back together, John.
Yeah, boy, Dave, I came at the right time. Looks like all the dirty work's been done. But before we throw that spring up in there, let's talk a little bit about independent and non-independent suspensions. That's where it all starts. This one right here, this is an actually non-independent suspension. Why? Because it's one rigid axle all the way across. When one wheel hits a bump, the other's affected. You can look at the bottom of the graphic right there. The lower one, that's an independent suspension system. Why? Well, you see, one wheel's not connected to the other. When you hit the bumps, you're not going to feel it. A little higher end, kind of nice ride with that.
We've got coil springs on this one, and we're going to put one in right now.
Yeah, we got a couple of options, Dave. We can take all the control arms off, but you know, I'm close to 200. Don't go there. Maybe I can just hang on this differential. I'm not going to mess with the brake line or anything, and see if you can kind of snake it up in there. I'll move this shock for you.
Always best to keep it simple.
Yep, maybe we can get lucky here and not have to disassemble the whole thing. Yep, see if you can get it up in there. Once you get it up in there, just kind of get it positioned and I'll hang down for you. You ready?
Let's do it.
See if I can do this. Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
Wow, look at that. I'm going to do a couple of chin-ups while I'm there.
There you go. And zero.
Perfect.
That's me, yeah.
Nice, okay. Well, we got that in now. Now all we really have to do is just kind of compress it. You know, springs control ride height, shocks control spring oscillation. So let's go ahead and screw it up. Once we get the screw jacks up, we'll line up this and get going. While we're at it, let's talk about a couple of different types of suspension systems.
Yeah, John, first there's a leaf spring, and that's the most primitive. In fact, it's been around since Roman times. They actually use pieces of leather to make leaf springs, and it hasn't really changed much since then. Yeah, they're made out of steel, but the basic design has lasted forever and ever.
Wow, I did not know that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and they're pretty neat because it's usually on non-independent suspension systems. You got a shackle on the back that allows it to change lengths as you hit bumps. You got a pin in the middle. When you're diagnosing those, just tug and pull them, make sure everything's secure. Look at your little eyelets, you know. Then they went to torsion bars, Dave.
Yeah, and those are usually used on four-wheel drive vehicles for the most part.
Yeah, the four-wheel drives use the torsion bars. They're connected to the frame of the vehicle. Then they go up usually to a lower control arm in the front. And those are springs, so they're under twisting force. Matter of fact, they're under immense amount of twisting force, so be super careful. They don't look like a spring, but they are a spring. Dave, I'm almost there. How are you?
Just about where you are.
All right, well, come on. We'll take it up a couple more turns and line it up. Meanwhile, a couple other suspensions, Dave. Air suspension. Yeah, you're pretty expert with that.
Oh, yes, sir. We have had air suspension on this. We decided to take it off. It's a much more complicated system than we're going to be putting in. The nice thing about air suspension, well, yes, it does act as a regular shock and absorbs the bumps, but it also allows you to adjust the ride height if that's what you need to do.
And that's cool. And remember, all springs control ride height, shocks control spring oscillation. So if you have a problem, check your spring. And then the last one is the coil springs. Well, that's what we just put in here. We changed this from an air ride to a coil springs. Could be independent or non-independent, doesn't make any difference. Wow, this thing's looking good, Dave. What do you think?
Now, all we got to do is tighten these up. We'll be good to go.
Yep, we're going to drop it down, do the final torque specs, but we got to bounce for a minute.
See what you did there.
Yep, we'll be right back with more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com.
329 million people live in the U.S., and about 88% of those people own cars. That's second only to Italy, and it's a stark contrast to the rest of the world where car ownership averages only 35%. More Tech Garage coming right up.